Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a end of service on a Yamaha 150 outboard. They're pretty simple, anyone can do it, and we're really not even doing a full service because there's a shortage of water pumps right now, so it's kind of hard to get some things. But we're going to do what we can, and I'll take you along for it. So this is a pretty easy service. We just got everything for an oil change, both fuel filters, spark plugs, and lower gear oil lube. The order that you do this kind of matters, so we'll take you through the whole thing. So the first thing we're going to do is the big water separating fuel filter, and it lives down there. So that's pretty straightforward. We're just going to fill this thing before we actually reinstall the new one, and that's about it. I just cut up a old washer fluid bottle, and that's not going to hold the fuel forever, but it's something to catch it so we don't make this boat stink like gas. And we're just going to put a claw wrench on it. I pre-filled the filter as best I can. It doesn't have to be all the way to the top, but just a little bit helps. And one thing you want to do before you put this thing on is throw just a little bit of grease over the top so that gasket doesn't lock up on there. Now we have this fuel filter to deal with. I usually leave this whole thing on the mount and take it off right there, but it is super important to take off this little blue water and fuel sensor. So we're basically going to get on this nice and light with a set of channel locks, and it goes left like that. You want to make sure not to crack the plastic housing. Try to squeeze as little as possible, and then this guy just comes off. Try to lose as little fuel as possible. This one's super easy. You literally just take this guy out, get rid of it, and then throw this guy in, and make sure it kind of sits on that boss. So the reason I did the fuel filters before I ran the engine and before anything else is because what I wanted to do is stabilize the fuel and get stabilized fuel through all the filters. So I've been using fuel ox lately. It's kind of nice because it's extremely concentrated. I can't really say if it's good or not yet, but I have heard good things about it. So you don't have to use much of this stuff, which is nice when you're doing a ton of boats. So at this point we're going to run the thing, and basically that's going to do a few things for us. That's going to heat up the oil enough so that we can extract it, and then it's also going to run the fuel through the fuel filter, the stabilized fuel through the entire fuel system, and also give us a chance to look for some leaks. Okay, so now that the engine's all warmed up, we're going to extract all the oil. I'm going to take the dipstick out. I like to just take a quick look at the dipstick and just see if there's any metal shards or anything really bad in there. This oil looks good but used, and it's at a pretty safe level. So we just take this tube and insert it down the dipstick hole, and go till you kind of hit something, and then I usually back it off just a little tiny bit. And now we just wait a little while for the pump to do its thing. There's about 5 quarts of oil in here, so it's going to take a little bit, maybe up to 15 minutes. So with the oil being extracted right now, I'm going to drain the lower unit oil and change that now. So the way I like to do it is I like to crack this just to make sure it's going to free up. That's the fill. And then I crack the drain, pull it out, and then when I'm finally ready for it to flow fully and I'm not going to make a mess of anything, I finally pull out this this upper bolt here. So you see how none of it comes out without the top bolt undone? Or just a little bit of it, not much. Gonna make sure to put a lot of pressure on these so you don't strip out. They're just flat heads. Kind of nice if they made them an Allen or something. I'm gonna look for actual metal and water in here. If there's water in it, this will look kind of brown. This looks all right. It definitely took just a little bit of water, but usually all of these do. Metal is the worst thing you're looking for. Water is bad too, obviously. Water will indicate like a bad seal, and then obviously if you see metal shards, especially on this magnet plug, then there's definitely something wrong in the lower unit. there's always going to be like a little extra oil coming out of here, but this is pretty much done. So what we do is now is we take our oil pump and we fill from this hole and basically wait till it comes out of there. This is pretty much only going to take a quart, but let's see how it goes. Okay, so the nice thing about this is you really can't screw it up because it's going to flow out of here when you're done, and then you just basically put this top plug back in like this. We're going to finish up the oil change now, and the way I'm going to do this is just filter and then refill. So just get on that with a wrench, and I'm going to stuff some rags up underneath it because we are going to lose some oil into the cowling. Have the other filter as quickly as possible on there, because then you'll lose less fluid. One thing you want to be sure of whenever you're doing an oil change is that you want to make sure that the gasket is still on the old filter, and that's because, like, let's say the gasket sticks with the engine block, then you double gasket it with the new gasket on the new filter, then you're going to have problems and leaks. This engine's going to take about 5 quarts of, or just under 5 quarts, like 4.8 of synthetic blend 10W30. There's actually a shortage on Yamaha oil right now, so we're going to have to use Quicksilver. Before I run it again to check the oil level, I'm just going to do the spark plugs in it. It's pretty self-explanatory. All the fluids are changed and all the filters are pretty much changed. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it, confirm the oil level, and fog it just to make sure you know, nothing seizes up over the winter. Yamaha also recommends that we pull the prop and check the seals, make sure there's no fishing line wrapped up in there. But since this thing had no water in the lower unit oil and everything looked really good, I don't think it's quite necessary, so I'm not going to do it. I'm also just going to spray down these steering rams with just a little bit of penetrating oil, just to try to, and then I'm going to work the steering back and forth, only because you just want to give it a reason to not rust over the winter. So try to hit those 2 spots. And then we're also just going to hit this grease fitting and that grease fitting, and this thing is pretty much done. Since we can't get a water pump, this thing is done and ready to be tucked away for the season. We'll have to handle a water pump this upcoming spring. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Bye.